I first started to consider the Lotus, it was a combination of the brand's history in Formula One, as well as just the overall appeal of such a legendary sports car maker. I always loved the quote from the founder, Colin Chapman. I loved his quote about, simplify and add lightness. It was kind of the antithesis to my GT350R that I had before. And it was just really interesting that, I love the non-adjustable suspension feature in the Emira, because you can either pick sports or touring suspension for the car from the factory, and then it's non-adjustable because Colin believed if you give your customers the ability to change the suspension tuning, they're going to change it in the wrong fashion. So I love the fact that there are kind of these stalwarts in his psyche about what the brand is supposed to be and what the cars are supposed to represent. And I had always been attracted to them. I had driven the Exige, but at my size, fitting in and out of an Exige is not the easiest task. So I saw the Emira and was immediately captured by it and thought it would be a great entrance for me into the Lotus brand. Growing up, I think a lot of us dream of owning exotic cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, things like that. And I feel like Lotus kind of got lost in the sauce there a little bit. And it doesn't have necessarily the same brand recognition and pedigree. However, they've been in Formula One for decades. They've been a top-tier racing team throughout their history. They have made incredible cars throughout their entire history, and achingly beautiful cars too. The first gen Esprit, I think, and the Elan are some of the best designs they ever came out with. So when I drove my buddy's Evora, I really, really enjoyed the driving experience, but it just felt like an unfinished product. And then when I saw the Emira and I got to sit in it and play with all the different controls and the nav screen and everything, you realize that they finally went that last 10%. So when the opportunity arose to order an Emira through Boardwalk Lotus in Redwood City, I had to jump on the chance because they finally, like I said, they finally went that last 10% and created a truly amazing finished product. I think one of the most special things about the Lotus is that it makes every single drive feel special. When you unlock it and the mirrors unfold and it, lights up the DRLs and everything, you're like, oh, this is kind of like every other car out there. And then when you get behind the wheel and you lift up the engine start button and you fire up the admittedly Toyota sourced V6, but with that supercharger on top, you see it come to life behind you and you hear it come to life and you go, okay, this is going to be something different. This is going to be something special. The driving experience of the Emira really is a further evolution of the Evora. The brakes are so immediate and I haven't found the point to which they fade. And I've been challenging myself to keep trying to make the car understeer, and it never seems to understeer. It just keeps turning in harder and harder. The hydraulic steering feedback is something that is missing in the generation of electronic power assisted steering systems. So you feel vibrations in the road that you've never felt before. Even if it's a road you've driven 100 times, you really do feel something special translating through the wheel to your hands. And the Supercharged V6, well, I wish it was a little bit more special like the motor in the GT350R. I wish it had the extra 2,000 revs, but it has a special character to it in terms of there's always power on tap. It's got a great amount of torque. For something that only weighs about 3,000 pounds, 400 horsepower, and you have this crazy cool exposed gear linkage that I've only seen on cars like Koenigsegg, Pagani, and Spyker before. I love seeing the exposed gear linkage through the tunnel in the center. And, there's no automatic rev matching of downshifts. You have to heel toe it yourself. You really have to drive the car yourself. And I feel like it's one of the last analog sports cars that's truly available. And I think we need to capitalize on these and get them before they're gone. I think that being a car enthusiast is one of the biggest blessings in my life. I was very, very fortunate that both of my grandfathers, both of my parents, everybody in my family has been into cars to some degree. So my first word was car when I was a baby. I've been working in the automotive industry my entire professional career, and I love the way that it brings people together. I love that people who would have never met each other before meet through automobiles and become best friends through automobiles and change each other's lives through automobiles. I think that the people that you meet and the drives that you do and the way that you can interact with one another is just the best sense of community that I've been able to find in my life so far. So I consider myself to be one of the luckiest guys in the world to be able to be a car enthusiast who's made great friends through cars, who have become closer than family.